as your district superintendent, I name this annual church conference as Acts 1-8 Assembly. We gather annually at this place to celebrate our apostolic witnessing to one another. So Acts 1:8 says, when the Holy Spirit comes on you, you will receive power, right? And then you will become my witnesses, not only in Judea and Samaria, but to the end of the world. This is what Jesus' word right before his ascension. Remember that. So in this gathering, we are called to celebrate our ministries and our missions together to empower each other so we can grasp and embrace the big picture Jesus gave to us right before his ascension. So as the Dover district, we are going to continue to celebrate this Acts 1:8 assembly and apostolic witnessing together. That's my own biblical definition of church or a church conference. And now the Book of Discipline says we are going to submit annual reports about finance and membership, all this, but it's not just that. Not only the reports, but we are going to adopt goals and objectives. If you read Book of Discipline 247:3, so it will clearly say that we are going to receive reports and also goals and objectives. So having remembering that, we are going to go over the agenda for this year. Each year, I have a little bit of different theme in honor of that, our call for apostolic witnessing. So we can be who we are as apostolic witnesses, but with different sharing on different ministry, different missions. So each year I just tweak a little bit of the theme of each annual conference that will honor that apostolic witnessing for us. So before we go over the agenda, and I'm going to share how this webinar will proceed. After I go over the agenda, and Kathy, our administrative assistant, will go over, as you see, what kind of changes this year we have, any tips and forms, and all these in a checklist, and also she will lead us to the demonstration of the website, so you can get familiar with those forms. And I'm going to invite you after each slide presentation by Kathy if you have any questions, we can ask. And also on the screen at the bottom, you will see chat, and you can click the chat. You can typewrite your own question. So we can recognize what kind of questions you may have, and then we can respond to. So let's go to the agenda first.
I have a lot of documents open here, so it's going to take me a second to get to the right one.
And take a look at the webinar, agenda. As you may know, we will start with the opening worship, which will take 15 minutes. And that worship will be prepared by the pastor and laity in your own way, creative way. You can do whatever whatever ways you want to worship. Praise dance or whatever ways. So, and then that 15 minutes worship will include this devotional. That can be done by the pastor or lay leader and whoever may be. So just be creative and worshipful. And this year, I want you to have the devotional on what is your church's one widely important goal or week next year. Just one wildly important goal. So that before you come up with, and your pastor and your congregation, your leaders should be on the same page, I believe. So have some conversation. And then some kind of business reports, but again, this is not just a business meeting to report. This pastor's report will celebrate major ministries and missions as apostolic witnesses. And if you have associate pastor or retired pastor or a CLM, certified lay minister, and I will invite, each church will be different. Now, when pastors present this year, pastors, you have to present to the whole congregation 2 personal, wildly important goals. And in your pastoral report, celebrate your ministry and then present your wildly important goals. And attach there the ministry covenant signed by you and staff parish relations committee members. That way you enter the covenant with the whole congregation through the leadership of SPPRC. And then pastors will be invited by DS or presiding elders to present members, new membership auditing processes. How many members, how many deaths, how many new members, professions of faith, and then lay leaders narrative report. So lay leaders report, you can write down how you have been engaged in ministries and mission and witness to the whole community. So you can write up, you don't have to write a long report, but just celebrate in a meaningful way, in a way to glorify the Lord. And then I will invite trustee chairperson or elder pastor will invite trustee chairperson to report on major improvements or major achievements they have done. And again, this is one great way of celebrating, servanthood, ministry, and mission as a leader, as the committee. And the finance report by the finance chairperson, and I will invite them to come over. And every year I see more finance chairpersons celebrating their leadership in a way to witness again, as instead of just numbers to put out. And why giving, why stewardship? I've been enjoying that difference. So it's been amazing. Not just these are the income, these are expenditures, but some churches have done great way, why giving and giving hopes through hope, giving kind of report. So in other words, some churches presented narrative budgeting, like 4 missions, and then according to 4 missions, and then each mission, and then budget, and why, that kind of report. So think about how you can celebrate your apostolic witnessing through that financial report. And then budget. Some churches have different fiscal year. So you, pastor, you should, I will ask, or presiding elder will ask if you want to vote at the church conference for the budget or not. Because I give to make it optional, because some churches have to wait until December to come up with the budget, but their church conference is in October or September. So you don't have to vote at church conference, but you can vote your budget through ad council. So all that I need to know is if you want to vote here, or you have already voted through ad council. That is it, and that will be voted also. And then we know a pastor's salary and benefit, we have to vote. And I always invite PPRC chairperson to present again, celebrate in a celebrative way, pastor's missions and how pastor has been growing and all this report. Plus, if they gave some raise for pastor's compensation and how much percentage, all this, and then you can present to the body. And this year you can see the difference. So I'm gonna ask SPPRC to answer these two questions. Does your church have a prayer ministry team? If so, how do you nurture it? So I want to know how you are doing. And yes and no, and this is not something mandatory, but this is our own kind of movement to create a culture of renewal. So this is an important, very important questions for me and for all of you. And then next question is, does your church implement a strategic planning process? What kind of support do you need from the Dover District Strategic Leadership Team? So we'll be in conversation based on this. So these questions can maybe evolve around your congregational goals, pastoral goals. So think about it in advance. You can start to have conversations through the ad council together. And now, lay leadership nomination committee, actually that report will be done by the pastor. I will invite again, and then we will vote, and we can get some nominations from the floor if you need, and that will be voted also. Some may be corrected, names changed, new volunteers from the floor. So as corrected, I will put it to vote. And then lay servants report and candidates for ministry, and then we'll vote on these also. So please let your lay servants, certified lay servants, fill out the forms and put their signature. And I just want to make sure myself as the district superintendent put signatures there. And so lay servants and certified lay servants can have that copy with DS's signature. It has not been done well because of a lot of reasons, but I just wanted to be more intentional with this, because some lay servants came to me, I don't have that, your signature, So I had to put my signature later, far later, they contact me or, because some lay servants are taking this report and with DS's signature very seriously. So, because it's like a certificate, recognition of their ministry and leadership. So I'm going to make sure, if I forget at the church conference or for elder pastors who are presiding the church conference, just grab their attention and let them sign there. After this, we will wrap up the meeting at Acts 1:8 Assembly with one praise song. So prepared by your worship team or pastor, and then a worship designing team. So one praising song and benediction by me or presiding elder. Now, I'm going to open to the body. If you have any questions before I invite Kathy to go over the details, please ask questions.
Okay, so thanks everyone for coming this evening and joining us. And before I forget, I want to give some special thanks to Pastor Larry for being our backbone here and helping us to get through this. So Pastor Larry, thanks. You're working in the background here, but you're a big help to us, so we appreciate that.
Amen.
All right, so we're going to jump down in here. If you have questions, just give us a shout. So one of the big changes this year is there will be one packet. Normally, you're probably used to having a master and a participants packet. This year, we're only going to have one packet. That is the major change, and that is listed in the instructions document. So I'm going to go into some helpful hints here for you. If you have one of the earlier conferences, just complete your forms as thoroughly as you can and just include the latest data that you have available, because we understand that you're going to have to submit some revised reports later. If you do make revisions to reports after you have your conference, if you can forward them to me at the district office, just mark the document as revised and include your date of your revision. You don't need to send the whole entire packet again if you just have one or two documents that you revise. And do yourself a favor, don't make more work for yourself. Just include the required documents in your packet.
Thank you, Kathy. Any questions so far? Okay.
So a copy of the official Church Charge Conference packet should be submitted to the district office 7 days prior to your Church Charge Conference. This allows our DS, or in the case of the elder, a little bit of time to review all the documentation and get ready in case they have any specific special questions they would like to share or talk with you about. When you prepare your packet for the district office, just please put a clip on it. Don't staple it. Don't use binders or put a spine on it. Because basically what happens is if you send me a document that's all pretty, I have to take it apart in order to scan it in. So save yourself the time and money and aggravation and just put a clip on there for us. If you can include a table of contents with page numbers, that would be helpful for when the DS or elder is conducting your conference. And you have a couple options. You can either scan your document and email it to me if you can scan it as a big, large document. But please don't send me 50 different scanned pages because it becomes horrendous. If that's the case and you can't scan it, just go ahead and email or drop a copy off, a hard copy. If you come during hours when the office is closed, if you have your paperwork in an envelope, there's a mailbox that's opposite the door. You can just drop it right in that mailbox, and I will be checking that mailbox every day when I come into the office. And last but not least, on this end, don't hesitate. If you have a call, if you have a question, just give me a call and we'll get you straightened out. Does anybody have any questions about this part? Everybody good? Okay, moving on. So what do you have to have ready for your conference? First off, be prepared to follow the order of the agenda that our DS arranged. what she just went through. Have your report packet ready for all your attendees. And if you can have your packet follow the order of the agenda, that would be quite helpful to make your conference flow smoothly. Mm-hmm. And if there are other reports that aren't included in the agenda, just add those to the packet after those agenda reports. Mm-hmm. If there's any questions that the DS has, then she can ask them during that conference.
Here I have one thing to share with you. Some churches have special like voting items depending on where the churches are. Like, for instance, church renovation project, they wanted to put it to vote. And in that case, and DS or presiding elders we recommend you to let the presiding elders or DS know in advance. That way, presiding elders and I can help them to move to achieve that goals through the voting process. Does it make sense? Yes.
Okay. So where do you find what you need? If you go to the pendel.org/Dover, and then down where the arrow points, I have the 2018-19 Church Charge Conference documents all gathered together. And in a couple minutes, we're going to go out there, and I'm going to go over that with you. I often we don't have a computer at our church. So a couple suggestions that we have: ask someone in your congregation who has a computer to assist you, or visit your local library, because many of them have computers that you can use. When you go to that website that I just mentioned, everything you need should be out here. The initial invitation that the DS sent, the schedule. So if your pastor hasn't shared with you when your charge conference is, the schedule is right out here. You can go take a peek. Mm-hmm. You'll notice that some of these I have in red font. These are the particular ones that I'd like you to pay extra attention to. There's an agenda, which is the agenda that DS Kyung Hee just went through. But you'll notice one has red with references to the checklist items. I took that agenda and, to try to make it easier for you, referenced the items in the checklist that correspond to those agenda items. Mm-hmm. Again, on the checklist, I also did a special checklist for the Dover district that lists in the same order of the agenda all the items that you have to complete, and the other items that also need to be completed are listed at the bottom. There are instructions available, which are very important, that you really should take a look at. They have Word or a PDF version, so whichever one you're comfortable using, click on that. And there's also a link to the forms. Another one I put out there is the key leadership, which I modified for the Dover district to try to make it a little easier. We'll look at that in a few minutes. If you happen to use the other unmodified for Dover district form, that's fine. Don't worry about it. I was just simply trying to do a couple things special for our district to make it easier for you. Mm-hmm. Also on our website, we have some special links to some examples and samples. So if you need a pastor narrative and you want to look at an example, we have that out there for you. A ministry covenant, there's a couple examples of those. And if you happen to be one of the elders who will be conducting a conference, we also have your elder follow-up report link out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank
Any
you.
questions so far?
I have one.
Okay.
Harold Backus. I'm new to the conference and new here. You said your examples where I don't see those on the page.
Right here at the bottom, there's a pastor narrative example.
I see those on the page.
Yes, and when you go out to the website, when we go out there, there's that as a link to take you to the actual example.
Yeah, Kathy can demonstrate later. Yeah, hopefully we can show them. Dr. Harold?
I think I've got it.
Good. Super.
I'm good.
Thank you. Good
Okay.
question. Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions before we move on? Okay. All right. On to the instructions and the checklist. My recommendation is that you print a copy of the Church Charge Conference instructions, but I'm going to ask that you don't use the checklist that's included in these instructions, that you use our special adapted Dover District checklist, because I've modified it again and it follows the order of the agenda. If you use the old one, that's fine. No great heartburn. I'm just trying again to make it easier for you to follow things.
Mm-hmm.
To give you an example, on the checklist, the circle next to report of the pastor, see this, the red circle over the 2A2?
Mm-hmm.
That 2A2 refers to the instruction. And in section 2A2 in the instructions, it tells you what you need to do with that form. It gives some hints and tidbits about what that form is or what you need to complete. Also on the checklist, next to that, it says download format, PDF, and Word. There are two versions of the document or form that are out there. So you can use either the PDF version, or if you have Microsoft Word, you can use the Word version. Any questions about that part? Okay. All right, the big one I have is, do I have to complete all these forms? And the answer is no. Not every form is applicable to every church. So if it's not applicable, just put an NA on your checklist next to that item and just move on to the next one. And another one that I get is, what do I do? There's no form. So on that checklist that I just showed you a little snippet of, if it doesn't have that download format with the Word or PDF, that means there is no specific form. So you can feel free to use whatever format for your reports, not having that official form. And some of them are your budget. Everyone's budget will look a little different according to how your finances are handled. The treasurer's report, your report of the Committee on Lay Leadership, your nominations, everybody does it a little bit different, and whatever works for you, as long as you have all the pertinent information in there, that's just fine. Okay. So is there anything you have to do after your conference? And this one's a big one that a lot of folks miss. And the answer is, yeah, you need to send in your minutes along with the list of the names of those that were attending. And these are due in the district office no later than 30 days following your conference. I will be checking up on those this year and checking off to make sure that we do get them. They're important for you to have in your church records. Any questions on that part?
I have a comment about that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're at the Charge Conference and you're preparing for it, you can take little Post-it notes and put it next to the areas that you need the district superintendent's signature. And before she leaves the building, or before the elder who conducts the Charge Conference leaves the building, just grab them, say, here, sign this, sign this, sign this. This especially applies to all the lay servant forms,
Yep.
candidates for ministry, and those are a couple of good examples. Also the minutes, if you can get her to sign the minutes, even if you haven't finished them, it just makes things easier if you get all the signatures all at once before she leaves the building, and then you get it done.
Yep, that's a great idea. And some may think, why the minutes? Why bother to send the minutes? Things happen sometimes to a church, like something controversial, and they do not agree, as a congregation, and then we go back to the minutes. Okay, this is what we voted. Through the minutes, people can be recollected about how they voted on, how they reached a consensus. So this is a really important documents that you have to submit.
No, I don't want to leave the meeting. Let's see here. Oh, that would not be good. Huh. So you can't see my browser screen?
No. Do you want me to show it to you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Larry.
So, yeah, no problem. We'll get to that. Okay, so this is the pendel.org, and you go on your browser on your computer and just navigate to pendel.org. And then you come down to the district. Do you see that?
Yep.
Okay, so then you go down to the districts, and you find the Dover district, and you click on that. And that is how you get to the Dover district website. And Charge conference. Do you see the little cursor moving over that? Okay, that's a link to that resource, and there is a whole page, and every one of these is an active link. You see how it forms a line underneath each one? Mm-hmm. And each one of those is an active link, which either will get you a document or a free ticket to heaven, depending on how lucky you are.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's how that happens. So I'm going to stop share. All right.
Okay. This on the screen now is that agenda again. And you'll see I've put in the blue shading on the checklist, the items that correspond. So if you look at the reports, the pastoral staff reports, on the checklist items, checklist 2A1, 2A2, 2A3, 2B, 2C, 2F. So all these items that I put in the blue correspond to that checklist on the forms that you need for each of these particular sections. Okay. On the trustee report, it's checklist 2I. Your finances checklist 2L or 2M. Checklist item 2N is your budget. Your SPRC checklists are 2O or 2P. And coming down a little further, your Committee on Nominations and Leadership, it's checklist item 2G. And then your lay servants is checklist item 2E. That probably sounds pretty foreign. So what we're going to do now, if I can get this to come down here, here we go. I'm going to give you the new share, and we're going to go to the actual modified checklist so you can see how things correspond here. So again, this is the one that I modified for the Dover district. And the items here at the top are in the order of the agenda. Again, here on the narrative, 2A1 refers to the checklist item 2A1. And there is an example on the Dover District webpage of a narrative. Again, where it says download format, PDF or Word, if it has that, then there is a predetermined form that you should be using. You can use the PDF version or the Word version, depending upon if you have Microsoft Word or if you would prefer to use the PDF version. Reports for additional clergy is item 2B. These 2A2, 2A3, 2B, these all coincide with the instructions. So if you want to know what 2B is, go to the instructions, item 2B, and it all matches up together. And for instance, reports of additional clergy 2B, you see there is no download format here, so that means that's the free form. Whatever type of format you want to use, you can use for that. Okay. This one, for instance, the Certified Lay Ministers Report. There's a link on the Dover webpage for that particular report. The Updated Ministry Covenant. There's an example on the Dover District webpage. And so on and so forth. Now you'll notice toward the bottom of this checklist, I put on here, these reports are not on the agenda to be covered during your conference. However, they should be included in your packet. As long as you turn in your packet and you meet that 7-day deadline, that gives me time to give your reports to the DS or the elder who will be conducting your conference. Gives them a chance to look through your documentation. And these, even though these aren't on the agenda, they may have a question about one of these items. And that's one of the reasons you need to get those reports in early, so they actually have a chance to review them prior to your conference start. There is one item down here, your fund balance. Now that's not due until January 31st of 19. And again, your minutes are due 30 days following your conference. Does anybody have any questions about the checklist or how I've redesigned it for the Dover District? Again, if you want to use the checklist that is the last page of the instruction document, you can do so. I just tried to reorder this to make it easier for everyone in the Dover District to follow the agenda order. Questions, anyone?
Yes, Robin, Kristen Bowden, she says she doesn't have a mic, but she emailed chat. She wrote down on the chat room details about the report that the presiding elder needs to file after the conference. I'm not sure if I understood that question right, but if you are a presiding elder, you have to fill out the addendum that we put out with several questions. So you can fill out on the computer and then send it to email to me and Kathy. So along with the other reports, elders, Kathy, we don't need specific reports after the conference, right?
The only thing that I would get after the conference would be reports that have been corrected, or they've had an early charge conference where they didn't have all their information, so they're sending in revised reports.
Yes, thank you, Kathy. Yep. And an addendum that we put out.
I've got a quick question. I remember last year you had some of the you asked the pastors of the churches to do the devotional, and we're everybody for years and years, the district superintendent would come and do the charge conference. And then last year, I think it was the first time that we were ever asked to do the devotional. And I don't think hardly anybody understood that. And are we doing that again this year, or are you going to do the...
Yes. The reason why I'm doing this intentionally, I wanted the church body, including pastor and laity, to participate, claim the ownership of this gathering for apostolic witnessing. And that, I thought that is the best, and having 15 worship planned, designed by the congregation, would be the best way of claiming the ownership of this gathering. So that's why, that's a very good question, Larry. So I'm going to continue, let the church own this time of devotional and worship designing to open our church conference. So some churches did not do it because, as Larry said, no diocese has done that yet. So, and then I had to lead myself devotional, asking questions and let people respond back to me that way for some churches. But let me tell you, some churches did wonderful worship planning. Like pastors didn't do anything but let lay leader, laity, led 15 worship, including devotional. Wonderful. So it depends upon how your church plans this 15 minutes creatively and worshipfully. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, well, good to know.
Excellent, Larry. Yep. Good question. And I will be ready to enjoy your worship, that you plan. I can't wait. And 5 minutes devotional on your church's one wildly important goal that even your Sunday school children will know. So in other words, everyone knows this wildly important goal for next year. What will it be? So I can't wait to hear that.
Okay. I have one other thing that I modified. Another report that I modified here was the key leadership. And the big change here is the key leadership, so the data that's in this key leadership report gets keyed in to the database that is utilized by the conference. So if you don't fill out a key leadership list, or you don't fill in the positions, and let's see, the conference wants to get in touch with, I'll say, all the trustee chairs. If you don't give this to me with your trustee chair, and the conference goes out, they want to contact every one of the trustee chairs, your chair won't get the information. So it's real important to give me a key leadership list with the information, the name, the email. If you don't have a work number, that's fine. But if they have a cell phone, a home phone number, or an address, some of the conference information is mailed, so they would need an address, and some of it is done through emails. I always get differing things here. I either get double information in the current and new, or I won't get anything in the current and just something in the new. Because what happens is, say you have John Doe as your lay leader and Jane Doe takes over in 2019, I have to cancel that appointment out of John Doe and add it into Jane Doe, so she would get contacted should the conference have any kind of correspondence go on. So to try to make it easier so you're not duplicating information in both columns, complete your 2018 current column. All right, complete this 2018 section. If there's no change for 2019, just come down in this spot and type the word same. That way I'll know there is no change from last year's leadership and the same person is taking over. On the other hand, again, if the person that's a lay leader right now in 2018 is changing to a new person, I will need both information because I have to end the assignment for the 2018 and add it as a new assignment starting in 2019 for your new person. Did I totally confuse everybody on that? Does anybody have questions about that one?
So this is just a report. It's something that we send to you, Kathy, and it's reporting on. It's not the nominations list.
Correct.
It is something that is in addition to and has the contact information. And on the left is 2018, and on the right is 2019. If the person is going to continue their job, you don't need the new information on the right, right?
Correct. You can just put the word same. So we know the same person is continuing on their assignment into the new year.
Cool.
And that's a little bit changed. That red font information is a little change. You're trying to make it a little more understandable for folks. Again, if during the year, if you make a change to your key leadership, just shoot me an email and I can always end the person and put the new person in. This is this comes up a lot when we get close to annual conference, because you want your representatives listed. And when the conference office actually mails out the information about the upcoming annual conference, they go by who is in this report. Okay, they pull it out of their database according to what we've key punched in from the information that you've provided to me. Again, this is on the checklist, but it is not part of the agenda items, but it is a required report. Questions?
Yeah, I have a question about, a lot of our charges have added churches, whereas it was 1 or 2 churches. Now it's maybe 2 or 3 churches, and that's a little different. This dynamic, I know that's true in the churches that I'm serving. So we're having it all 3 churches at the same time. We'll share in the devotions, and then we go through the same agenda, and it goes church, church, church for every single agenda item. And so it's all joined together.
Yep.
Is that correct?
It is. Yeah, it is. So like 3 different churches and 3 different SPPRC chairpersons, right? Each and 3 different trustee chairpersons. They will be given chance to share and speak up.
I have a question.
Yep.
Question or observation. I know that in our district we have some multi-point charges, and then we have, if I understand correctly, in my own situation, I have 2 individual churches.
Yep.
I'm still going to need 2 totally, completely separate reports to include each one of those churches, even though we're going to come together and have the devotion together and so on and so forth. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
Yes.
The pastor's report will be the same, or you can tweak a little bit, depending on the situation. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Ron. Yep. Good question.
Are there any other questions, or do you need me to bring up any of those other documents back up to take a look at, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Now, don't forget, usually around Monday through Thursdays in the office. If you have any questions, give me a shout. If I don't know the answer, I'll get you an answer. if you find any broken links or anything that I have on my documents, just let me know. Sometimes odd things happen and I won't be aware of it, so just let me know. We have attempted to record this session, so our goal is hopefully to be able to put this out on the website also, because we had several people call or email me saying they had other obligations this evening and they wanted to be able to review the documentation from this meeting. So we're hoping to get something out about that tomorrow to everyone.
And also, this is not just, I understand we have set instructions, set a list of forms, but I'm still open myself to the conversation or any comment or any suggestions you could make to me and Kathy to improve our communication around church conference or church conference. I forgot to mention, I prefer church conference to have more active participation in this apostolic witnessing gathering. So church conference is restricted to all just members. Church conference is open to all the members and constituents and worship attendees. So that's what I have been doing it so far. So church conference is okay, but when it comes to voting, only members can vote.
Okay. I see one item from Pastor Lisa. If we have two separate churches, don't we need to do two separate pastor reports?
Yes. But you can add, let's say, I know, Lisa, you have two churches, Gamboro and Caris, but pastor's report for Caris must be different, right? Depending on what you have done with Caris or Gamboro. So you should be, write differently, of course. But some can be the same. Like greetings or goals should be two goals that you will submit in your report as I requested will be different for each congregation. Does it make sense? Lisa, you can speak.
Yes. I'm sorry. I was trying to unmute.
Good.
Yeah. I was pretty sure I was right about it, but I wanted to be clear.
Absolutely. You
Yes.
are a newly appointed pastor to two churches now. So, thank you. Yeah.
Ask away. Now's your chance, folks, to ask questions.
Yep.
Don't be shy. And also, if you have any feedback on tonight's webinar, if you want to email me tomorrow, and if you have feedback on something we could try to improve or change or tweak, we're always open to that. This is a first webinar I've done, so hopefully it went good.
You'll be called Miss Webinar. Excellent job, Kathy.
I would like to say it was a great webinar, very informative, and not only that, just a lot easier time-wise.
Amen.
Be able to sit down and just be gathered together. So
Amen.
That's good.
Wonderful. Yes. Any comments?
I agree with the idea. I'm glad that it worked, and I hope we'll continue to do it more often. It makes it a lot more convenient than everybody traveling to Dover.